Besides Willie, we had Pedro's younger brother and sister, Rafi and Melvina, living with us. Oh my God, girl. If you ain't the bag and you don't understand, you taking care of 4 mothers. And you ain't had a hit in years. Bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share to Facebook, subscribe, and tip your favorite narrator via Cash App at $NAROB on YouTube. And if you are not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, you can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, let's continue talking about Mary Wilson's Supreme. We began an eventful run at Magic Mountain, one of my favorite places to play because it always attracted lots of fans. This was our 3rd year back, and tickets sold out so quickly that several shows were added. We had several special guests the first few nights. Frida Payne, Johnny Taylor, Barry's mother and sister Gwen, and Stevie Wonder. Stevie came on stage and did a song with us, which the crowd loved. And then afterwards came backstage to visit. A couple of days later, Flo arrived from Detroit. We'd talked on the phone several times over the past months, and somewhere in the back of my mind, I entertained the idea that she might rejoin us. Realistically, I knew it was a long shot. As I wrote in my first book, Flo drank quite heavily during this visit. We talked about her problems, and I was surprised to hear her say that most of the things that had happened to her were her own fault. Okay, so let me say this. Cancers, don't get mad at me. But I hate the way that you all are so hyper focused on your man, your children, and your family. I mean, hyper focused. So much so that you don't allow other voices to speak to you. It's a detriment to their mental health and to their sanity, because when the children are gone, when the man is gone, because yes, a lot of times men leave because of the fact the Cancer woman can be smothering. I feel like the dude Tommy Chapman, who, don't forget, Berry Gordy didn't even want Flo to deal with Tommy Chapman. Why you fucking with him? He's the limo driver. You're a supreme. But cancers don't have no limit to love. They'll love anything. They'll love a worm if the worm will at least pretend to love her. I hate the fact that Flo basically was the root of her own downfall. She was the nexus to her destruction. Some of you Flo fans, y'all gonna be mad at me. And Flo's daughters and family members, I have no disrespect for Flo. I've done Flo's book. Remember, if I don't respect you as an artist, I'm not gonna waste my time and read your book. Okay, so much due respect to Flo. We talked about her problems, and I was surprised to hear her say that most of the things that had happened to her were her own fault. She said she would stop listening to her family, and that now that she was broke, they wanted nothing to do with her anymore. All this time, I'd been concerned about Flo because of her all-consuming anger over what her life had become. But now she seemed to have accepted her fate, and that killed me. I didn't know which was worse, to fight a losing battle or to never fight at all. The first night, we agreed it might be better if she stayed home instead of coming with us to Magic Mountain. Flo said she looked forward to having some time alone. When I returned home, she was already asleep, and my house was a mess. Liquor stained the rug. A statue lay broken on the floor. I cleaned up, and before I went to bed, wrote in my diary, if only I could save the world. But I can't even find the solution for my own problems. Word. How you gonna save Flo when you can't even save yourself? We talked for hours and hours, but never resolved anything. The trip's one bright spot was the night she joined Cindy, Sherry, and me on stage at Magic Mountain. The fans cried out, "We love you, Flo." She seemed happy that moment, but a few days later she returned to Detroit, and I knew she was lost forever. Having seen both Diane and Florence within a few weeks of each other, I thought about how different their lives were and how much we had all changed. I believed that deep inside we were still the same girls we'd been back in high school, that all the changes everyone else saw in us were just external. If we ever sat down together and really talked, I thought, it would be all right. In their own ways, though, Diane and Flo said something else. Flo all but told me to give up on her. And Diane seemed so preoccupied with her stardom that I might as well not have existed. There didn't seem to be room in either of their lives for what we had been or for me. For several different reasons, Diane and Flo wanted to leave the Supremes far behind, but I couldn't, and it hurt. After Magic Mountain, there were no live dates, no recording sessions, nothing. I entertained friends, went to parties, tried catching up on things around the house. Even though I was relaxing, I felt very, very tired. I couldn't even imagine going to Las Vegas with Pedro for a weekend, something I'd always loved to do. Shit, you ain't going to Las Vegas to do nothing but spend a rack of money that y'all ain't got. You the one that said that y'all ain't had no recording sessions, no live dates, Nathan. Was I depressed, physically exhausted, or what? Then one day, my doctor called and said, "You better start knitting baby booties." I hung up the phone and cried for an hour. It didn't seem real to me. I was finally going to have a baby. Pedro was thrilled, and I was walking on a cloud. Pedro was thrilled for the same reason every nigga is thrilled to impregnate a bitch that got a bag. Or at least, carries a bag inside of her. Because right now, Murray is struggling. But, I mean, you got ninjas that trap women all the time. I'm telling you, they be like, ooh, look at this dumb bitch. Look at her. She'll walk to the moon for me. She'll even carry her kids for me. Let me hurry up and get this dumb bitch pregnant. Besides Willie, we had Pedro's younger brother and sister, Rafi and Melvina, living with us. Oh my God, girl. If you ain't the bag and you don't understand, you taking care of 4 motherfuckers. And you ain't had a hit in years. How does this happen, Murray to Wilson? In years, they are sucking you dry, girl. They are spending your money. Why you taking care of children that ain't it, girl? Pedro worked, but as our road manager. He quit law school. Still in his mind, he was boss. While he felt no compunction about reprimanding and even disciplining Willie, I was not to raise my voice to either of his siblings, even though I supported, fed, and clothed them and paid their tuitions. I know you fucking lying. That's why I say they be waiting on a dumb bitch. The early months of my pregnancy were wonderful. I enjoyed being pregnant, finally having my own baby to dream about. If anything, I was tired all the time because of the constant travel. The post-show parties and dinners went on, and Pedro went out while I stayed in the room. I wish that I could just stop and rest for a while. In October, the Supremes went to Japan at the invitation of Princess Shamazi and her husband to host an international celebrity tennis tournament. When I got home, I called Florence, who was living with my mother for a few days. She'd lost her house to foreclosure. Unfortunately, none of her brothers and sisters could take her and the 3 little girls in. There was even talk among people who knew Flo that her family was to put her in a sanitarium. So that's why I'm saying you jumping out the box, even though they family, you jumping out of the box for family. See what I mean about cancers? They do so much for people, even though they mean. They mean. Let's not pretend like cancers can't be mean, but they go over and beyond for people, child, and a person don't return to them half of what they given. That's why I'm like, it ain't gonna be me. It's got to be limits. Despite all the misfortune that had befallen Flo, I was surprised that she sounded better than she had in years. She was relieved to be staying with Mom, and Mom was happy to have her. Flo and I spoke very honestly to each other. I told you years ago, Flo, that you gave your family too much. I said it. And so did Murray. It's a sad thing to realize, but when it comes right down to it, family is just like other people. They're there for you when things are good, but when things get rough, they may or may not be able to hang around. There wasn't very much I or anyone could do for Flo. While I was advising Flo about spreading too much money on her family, I should have listened to some of my own advice. I now barely had enough money to support my husband, his siblings, Willie, my mother, and the Supremes. In fact, I was in debt.